What's happening, guys? Jason here, back with my 1970 Buick GS. And today we are bolting on horsepower. So I mentioned it before that this is the factory LS1 intake, and you should never, ever, ever have a LS1 intake on a heads cam car. This intake was choked from the factory on a stock LS1, let alone on a heads cam model. So I've been on the hunt for something. You got the fast intakes, you got the LS6 intakes, you got a whole different bunch of them. Now, I can't find LS6 intakes. They are rare as can be these days. They used to be plentiful. I've looked everywhere. I found them, in 200 miles in every direction of me, but nothing locally. I've been looking for about 4 months. I did, on the other hand, find this BBK SSI intake right here. And you can see it's metal, and this guy right here. Now, this guy was popular, but not back in the day, because it actually makes significantly more power than an LS6 intake. But it's made out of metal, and a lot of people thought, oh, well, it heat soaks and it weighs a bunch. As for heat soak, I found that the LS heat soaks regardless, even with the plastic intake, so it doesn't seem to matter that much. So anyway, we're going to be bolting this guy on. I got it used. I got it for, dirt cheap. So, yeah, we're going to be putting it on, and I hope it goes smooth. There's not a whole lot of information on this intake about whether the factory LS1 rails will work or the fuel rails will work, and the bolts and all that stuff, and the steam tubes underneath. It should, from what I've read. It should be just a bolt-on direct replacement for the LS1 intake. So we're going to find out. I'm going to get you all set up to where you can kind of see what I'm doing, and we're going to rip this old intake off, and you will see how stupid easy it is to do on an LS motor. Alright, got you set up there, and yeah, it doesn't take a whole heck of a lot to get an intake off of an LS engine. So, first thing we're going to do is come in here and take off the mass airflow meter and the idle air temperature off of my makeshift crappy Amazon intake. Screw you down there. Next up is the idle air control, and a little gimpy on my right thumb right now. I got angry and wound up hurting myself working on a different project that I'm going to be encoding and showing y'all shortly. I'm really hoping this will fix some of the drivability issues, but regardless, this thing needs a tune. But I didn't want to get it tuned until I got the new intake on, because then I'd have to get it retuned to get the most power out of it, and it would have just been a nightmare and something you really don't want to do. Next up, we're going to unplug the injector lines. They just got little push clips on them. They're not overly complicated. Go ahead and take my throttle cable assembly off. Set it out of the way. Okay, so there's two different ways we can do the injector rail. We can either basically unscrew the line here and then just take the intake off as the injector is one line, or we can take the injectors off. I don't really want to, because I got all this wiring in the way here that's going up. So I'm just going to unscrew my dash 6AN fitting that I've got right here, and we're pretty much ready to pull this intake. I am going to relieve the fuel pressure so I don't spray it all in my face, if there even is fuel pressure. I have a suspicion that I have a leaking injector on this car. This will kind of tell me if I'm right. Yeah, I do. Okay. Now we come along with 8mm bolts, and there's just a few on top, and we unscrew them. Actually, I take that back. There's a couple more connectors. Woo, back's on fire. Okay. Should be a couple more connectors back here at the back of the intake. Map, for instance. And then there'll be a couple of vacuum hoses back there. Right now we're just going to kind of lift up. And it appears that I actually did this job correct when I put it in and clamped the brake booster hose. Good for me, but also an idiot. Huh. Well, I don't think this intake was sealing worth a damn. I really don't. Okay, Mr. Intake is off. And that leaves us with a very, very dirty intake valley. Holy crap. Okay, we need a vacuum. Okay, I'll come along there and give it a little treatment with rag and carburetor cleaner. Now that the dirt's out of the way, I don't want to port and polish my cylinder walls. Okay, surface area is cleaned and our BBK intake is prepped with our map sensor, our fuel lines, and our brake booster hose. The lines did go on, the fuel injectors and the lines did go on. They took a little bit of persuasion with my mallet there. Nothing I've never had to do before. One side went in easy, the other side the O-rings were just a little bit tighter. So a little WD-40, a little bit of persuasion, and on she goes. So get y'all set up there. Now we lift the heavier intake and try to get it into place. And plug my vacuum line back in. Yeah, the real question is whether or not this intake will go on with the factory steam tube. That's the one thing I was never 100% sure about because nobody has that information. Sure seems like it don't want to. Sure doesn't appear to. Maybe. I'll be. It might actually go. Huh. Yeah. Seems to work okay. I'll be dang. Okay. guess we start putting bolts in because everything looks solid. The stupid water shield doesn't want to go up in the map sensor. And of course I happen to need my right thumb to do it, and my right thumb is in pain. There we go. Old WD-40 always helps. I think that'll go. We'll see. Now the question is will these bolts go? Because these look incredibly long. Oh yeah, I'm going to be running down shorter bolts for sure. Yep. Okay, I gotta see if I can find shorter bolts, so I'm going to be digging through my metric bolt pile. So of all the things I thought might hold me up, I never even once considered the bolts. Which is stupid because the guy that I bought it from said, you know, my bolts didn't work with it, but he was on a truck, so I just assumed the truck used different bolts. I was incorrect. BBK apparently used their own proprietary style bolt. So I have completely rednecked this to get it on the road until I can get the proper bolts for this thing, which, yeah, I just used 3 nuts and took up the slack. Not at all how you want to do this, but it will get me on the road for today. And I will order the bolts tonight and swap these out when they come in. I don't want to put the old intake back on and, you know, waste all this work over something as silly as these bolts. Crap happens. It's how you react to it once it does happen. And my go-to reaction is always the redneck. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the footage because this is just boring of me putting these on. And I'll get back when we are done. Alrighty, intake is bolted down. Everything should be plugged back in. Everything looks solid. Yeah, I think we're good. Yep, everything looks solid. So I'm going to turn the key on and make sure we don't have massive amounts of fuel leaks. If you see it, start screaming. Otherwise, we'll be good. And of course, that random no start I keep getting decides to rear its ugly head. We need to find that thing. I've been looking. I swear it's voltage drop related. Battery charger on, let's see if it goes. big one. Okay. Take two. Okay, engine definitely seems less cranky than it was. Yeah. Take her for a drive and see. Idle quality seems better. Oh yeah. Idle quality is so much better. Way stronger power-wise. A bit of problem with it trying to die on me, but I reset the IAC learning, and it's only done it to me once since then, so it'll be a little tricky. Power seems way better. Way better. Got a lot more power now. Now I really need to get it tuned, because I mean it feels like it's begging for more than 6,000 RPM, and yeah, it's just cutting fuel on me. So I need to get a proper tune, but this thing might be an animal now. Yeah, no complaints. The BBK SSI intake seems to be significantly better than the LS1 intake. You can actually feel it in the seat. There's a significant bottom meter. I'm shredding the tires at first gear on this thing, but it has a cooler sound and it looks better. So yeah, for the $200 I paid for that intake, I am completely happy. I can't complain whatsoever. So we'll be coming up with a tune here in the coming months or coming weeks. We'll see. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you enjoy these videos and you want to see more.